In today's session of Divorce Court, Amy Kirk says her marriage to Chris failed because he was a terrible provider.
I come home and my stuff is not only out on the curb, but I'm also a month pregnant. So now what are we going to do?
But he says it was her family that interfered and ruined the marriage.
The families were feuding, Your Honor.
His mom chased me around her house trying to pull my hair out.
Her family did not want to let my family see the baby.
Oh, come on, Mr. Kirk. You're telling me that her mother said to you, don't have anything to do with your family. Just stay here with us.
They didn't even like you that well. Why would they say that?
The families were feuding.
Today, it's the case of Amy Kirk versus Chris Kirk as they square off in divorce court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a matter of Amy Kirk versus Chris Kirk. Ms. Kirk, I'm advised that after 5 years of marriage, 3 of which you've been separated, that you're ready to end it altogether.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the problem?
Well, 4 months after we got married, we got our own apartment. Only 4 months after that, my mom and I were coming home one day from an afternoon together, and I come home to find all of me and Chris's belongings out on the street. You could just imagine how embarrassing
Within
that was.
4 months of
Within
marriage?
4 months,
It was not within 4
because
months.
Chris could not hold down a job. That was the reason for this. Okay.
And you didn't
I
have
was
a
working.
clue that you were about to be evicted?
We got notices, but supposedly Chris had this taken care of. He had supposedly been down to the real estate office and talked to the people. Okay, so this was
But I
my
was the
first
only
marriage,
one
my
working.
first husband. So of course I
And your first
trusted-
apartment?
Yes, my first apartment.
So he assured you that he had taken care of everything.
Right, and I was raised
did take care of it.
Okay, that's why our stuff was on the street.
But not within 4 months.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
it was
Mr.
4
Kirk,
months. I was 1
hold
month
on, let me
pregnant.
deal with that. Your stuff was on the street and wasn't 4 months. Does it make a difference whether it was 4 months or 8 months? Why was it on the streets, period?
Your Honor, I was the only one working. I was the only one
Excuse me.
that was
Excuse
providing
me.
within this apartment.
Excuse me, you worked about the first month that we lived there with your brother. When your brother
No,
moved out of
no.
our apartment, you then quit your job
No.
with him.
Your Honor,
and then I was
Let me
doing
hear from him.
telemarketing.
I want him to explain to me why, because he seems to think that the fact that it wasn't 4 months makes a difference. How many months was it afterwards that you were evicted?
It was probably maybe 5 months.
Okay.
But
That makes a big difference, not in my mind.
I was the only one working, Your Honor.
You
She never
weren't
worked in
working.
the
Let
whole
me
time.
hear what he has to say.
She never worked the whole time.
But if you were the only one working, what were you doing with the money if you weren't paying the rent?
Well, there was me, there was my wife, there was her best friend, and there was my brother,
back
all
up.
living in this apartment.
Right,
Four-
exactly.
okay.
four
Why was
adults.
my
Me-
best friend and your brother living there? Because they had to help us pay the bills because I was the only one working doing telemarketing.
Well,
Wait a minute. It
when we
sounds to
first
me,
moved-
hold on. Let's just get something straight. If you were evicted and 4 people were living there, I'm sorry, but logic tells me nobody was paying the bills. At least you weren't
Right.
paying the rent.
I was paying the rent plus trying to support what
Landlords
she
don't
was.
kick people out for paying rent. That's how they pay the
you.
note. So if you were evicted, you weren't paying the rent.
Thank you.
Now you're gonna try to fool me again?
No,
Oh.
I'm not saying that. My money did also go to support her habits. She was always fast food.
I
or
had my
whatever
own
she
job.
wanted.
What part of that aren't
She
you
wanted to go
Hold on a
and do
second.
this.
So
and
your money was going to take care of her. She wanted to do what?
she always wanted to spend money. She didn't want
Yeah,
to make
my
the money.
own
She
money.
spent money that she didn't have.
Yeah, she
On
wanted to
fast
spend
foods.
my money on fast food and cigarettes,
When
or
you were
she
when
wanted
he
to go
was
out
working, that's
and
true.
do
That's
this.
true. When he was
Who
working,
was
I
feeding
did
this
do
child
that.
if you would buy
didn't have the
We
child.
didn't have a child at this time. Now that is true. When he was working, I did take my money and spend it on, my cigarettes and things like that.
So
I
why
also
didn't you pay
did
the
help
rent?
pay bills though. I did. I helped pay the electric and the gas and things like that. Rent was completely up to him. Once he lost his job, when his brother moved out, he quit his job because his job was with his
Well,
brother.
now, did he quit his job or did he lose his job?
Well, he says he got laid off.
I lost
but-
my job. Your Honor, that was
but-
temporary jobs that I was working, which only lasted,
But that was 1 month after
So you
we
lost
lived
your
there.
job
3
at-
months later, he still didn't have a job.
But I
And did
was
you have
constant-
one?
Yes, I did. I was a telemarketer the whole time we lived in that
So
apartment.
if you were still working and he lost his job, why didn't you pay the rent?
Because by this time, his brother and my best friend had both moved out because I told them to, because me and Chris are married. It was time for us to have our life. I couldn't pay the rent and the bills on my telemarketing
What
income.
other bills?
That's commission.
What bills?
We had rent, gas, electric, phone, and cable. Phone and cable, I even let go. I even let the phone and cable go because they weren't
So
priorities.
you upheld your end of the bargain and you paid the
Right.
utility bills, and it was Mr. Kirk's responsibility to pay the rent.
Right.
And he didn't pay the rent.
Right, and
But how was he supposed to pay it if he didn't have a job?
I don't know.
Well, it seems like to me you have two adults here. One person is working and not making enough money. You get a job and work and make money and don't pay all of the bills. You lose a job and you don't get another one immediately. It sounded like it was two young people not being very responsible.
We were young when we had the apartment.
Right.
You're still young.
Right. And well, I was trying to be responsible. I went down to the real estate office a few times on my own to explain to them what was going on, that my husband was out of work, you know, I was trying to,
Well, do you have any children in all of this?
we do
didn't
now.
ever have
I
any
was a
children.
month pregnant when we got evicted, so I come home and my stuff is not only out on the curb, but I'm also a month pregnant. So here we are, homeless, and I'm a month pregnant. Now what are we going to do?
So what did you do?
My mom allowed me and Chris to move in with her. As much as she didn't like Chris because of the eviction, she still allowed us to move in.
So your mother blamed your husband for the eviction?
Yeah.
Did she know that he was
Because-
unemployed? I mean, sometimes
Yeah,
we
but
have
he was
bad...
unemployed by choice, not by
No, it wasn't by
circumstance.
So you're saying he didn't want to work?
Right.
It wasn't
What makes
by
you say he didn't want to work, Miss Kirk?
Well, at that time, I wouldn't have said it. The thing that makes me say it now is because we lived with my mom the whole time I was pregnant. When our son was about, I'd say about a month old maybe, he had lost another job, and my mom went to him and said, Chris, you have either a week to find another job, whether it be temporary services, whatever income you can find, or you're going to have to move out.
And what did he
That day,
do?
he packed his bags and moved out. It was much easier for him to move out than it was to find another job.
Is that right, Mr. Kirk?
No, there was a lot more than just that going on.
Well,
in
tell me, did the
household
mother
for-
say
Yeah,
either
tell me.
find a job or move out?
No, it was, well, she did say that.
And what was
but
your
she
response to
also,
that?
But she also wanted me to leave my family and be with my wife. And
What do you mean,
know,
leave your family? Hold on.
to break off all ties, not to
That's
you know
not what
have
she said.
any.
She wanted
Come
you
on,
to
Mr.
stand
Kirk,
up
you're
for
telling me that her mother said to you, don't have anything to do with your family, just stay here with us.
They didn't even like you that well. Why would
the
they
families,
say that?
the families were.
When divorce court returns, Amy testifies about Chris's meddling mother.
His mom chased me around her house trying to pull my hair out because
That's
she
not
heard me
true.
say a cuss word.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. Divorce court is back in the case of Amy Kirk, who's divorcing her husband Chris because she says he's a lousy husband and a lousy provider.
The families were feuding, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
And her family did not want to let my family see the baby.
So they were feuding
it
over
was
the
like
child.
They wanted me to either be with
No, that's not
her
the way it
and
was.
her family or be with my family. And
So now
forget
you're
the-
telling me there's a child involved, and the two families don't get along, and the child is only able to see the maternal grandparents, not the paternal grandparents, and the maternal grandparents want you to break all ties with the paternal grandparents. Now you put an innocent child in the middle of this war between adults who are being totally irresponsible. Is that what you're telling me?
Okay, now let's keep
Basically,
it
Hold on,
real.
now, I have the floor. I got a question pending. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. I mean, my family could never see.
But
this
what does
baby.
that have to do with her saying, get a job or move out, and you selected to move out? Was that to keep from getting a job?
No, that was not to keep forgetting.
Well, if that was
job.
the option,
It
then that's
was-
when you moved. It sounds like way to me. So he moved out, and
Right.
you have a 1-month-old child because he
Well,
couldn't
by
find a
this-
job.
Right, yeah. So by this
Now what
time,
happened?
my mom offered to keep the child for us until we could get stable because, of course, the baby wasn't come with us since we didn't know where we
What do
were
you mean
going to
us?
be.
I thought you were still there with your mother.
No, I left with him. He was my husband. I was going to stand beside him.
You
I
left with him and
Yeah,
left your
and left
child?
my child with my mom. Yeah, because
Wait a
it
minute,
was
let
only
me-
supposed to be temporary.
I don't understand that.
Why did I leave my child with my mom?
Your mother said, move out, get a job in 30 days, or move
Week.
out.
Right.
Your husband left the same day that she made that ultimatum.
Right.
You said, I'm going with my husband. He doesn't have a job.
Right.
We just got evicted from one place. Don't know where we're going to live, but I'm going to go with him and leave my child behind.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Because it was supposed to be temporary. Again, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. My first marriage.
Benefit of what doubt?
I wanted to give him the benefit that he would get a job and we would get an apartment and then, you know, we'd raise our child.
Where were you going to move to if he didn't have a job then? Where were you moving to when you left with him?
We went and lived in cars.
So you went to live in a car.
Yeah, I went.
And giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Right. I put up with this for about a few months, actually.
Mrs. Kirk, your mother is providing you with a roof over your head.
Right, but
And you chose to leave and go live in a car so you could be with this man.
Right.
Your husband. Now, marriage is important.
Right. Well, to me,
But no
that's
one
how
said that you
important
had to live in
it
a
was.
car.
To me, that's how important it was, though. That's how important it was to me at the time. Now, mind you, I was
More
18 years
important
old.
than your child.
No, because I wasn't giving my child up. I was still going over there and seeing him every day and everything.
But you're leaving the responsibility to your mother. And
well, my mom had asked me to do that.
That's
well,
what
I
gave
would
her
imagine
mom
so,
incentive.
because if I were your
Right,
mother,
because my mom
I'd say,
didn't want to see Tyler living in cars.
That's what-
Exactly.
and thank God for that.
Yes,
and you shouldn't
yeah.
have wanted to see him living in cars.
Right.
And probably every other grandparent would have said the same thing. If the
Right.
two of you want to go live in a car, help yourself, but the child isn't. But one of you should have been adult enough to say, you know what?
And
I'm
I
not going to
agree.
live in a car either.
Right, I
will
agree.
stay here with my mother until I can get my own place.
Or
and if
until
you want
he
to go
can
live in
prove
a
it to
car,
me. Right, or until he could prove something to me. I
That's what
agree.
gave her
but
mom
now that I'm
incentive to
older,
take
I
the
agree with
baby.
that. But back then,
what do you
at
mean
age
she took the baby?
What?
They basically took us to court to amend our custody for
That's
that.
right. They took
And
us to
why
court for
Because
custody.
she wanted to constantly leave the baby with her mom.
That is
And
not
what-
why.
now,
They took
well,
us
wait a
to
minute.
court for custody because you couldn't
She wanted
support
to
him.
constantly leave the baby with her mom. What did he want to do?
Well, when the baby was born, Your Honor, okay,
You left?
If we were both out with the baby, that was fine. But if she had to go to work, then we had to run all the way back to her mom's house, drop the baby off, and then run her to work.
Who else was
the baby
taking
was
care of
not
the baby?
allowed to be with me by himself.
Well, you couldn't take care of yourself. How could you take care of a baby?
Exactly. Exactly.
Didn't the paper say that this child is autistic?
Yes.
Is that right,
Well,
Mr.
we
Kirk?
didn't find that
Yes.
out till.
And the child needed special attention?
We didn't find that out until at least a year or two after.
Because you
It
were
was
too
a
busy
year.
living in
It was a
cars
year.
and not taking care of the child and not working. So don't blame your mother-in-law for taking care of the child.
Thank
now
her.
it sounds like
Anything.
you're trying to blame her.
I'm not blaming her mom.
Well,
I'm
what
not
are you
blaming
saying
that.
then? What's the point you're trying to make?
She basically said that she would rather her mom and her dad have the baby and not have anything to do with my family.
Okay, here's why. Because it was either we take Tyler and live with your mom and dad, or we take Tyler and live with the cars. In the cars, even at your mom and dad's. I'm not putting my child in your mom and dad's environment because your mom
Why
is
not?
the one who. His mom chased me around her house trying to pull my hair out because
That's
she
not
heard me
true.
say a cuss word. That's not true. That's not true.
You people are very young and have not understood parenthood and marriage, obviously. Now, you're complaining to me now about the fact that you were evicted and he
Right.
didn't pay the rent. You went to a place of safety, your mother's house, yet you left there and went back with him, and now you want him to pay for the eviction?
Right, because.
And
what-
why?
Why? Because
Yeah.
when we
Never
lived
put
in that
anything
apartment,
into it.
I'm the one who paid most of the bills.
She never put anything
I'm the
into
one
it.
who
Obviously,
tried
neither
to keep
one of
the
you paid
apartment
the rent.
by keeping the job. I'm the only one who kept the job the whole time
Your
we've
Honor,
been married.
my family is the one that paid the deposit and everything else.
Why did they have to
get-
pay the
to
deposit?
get
Because
the
you weren't
apartment.
You know what?
working
It
to pay
doesn't
it.
matter to me. Obviously, what you've said to me, both of you, is we have been irresponsible as adults. We have been irresponsible as parents. You made a choice, Mrs. Kirk, to stay with your husband for better or for worse, I guess. You went with the worst. But I don't think that's really what it was meant by that phrase. You still have to think and you have to do what's best for yourself
Right,
and for your minor child.
Right,
And to go live in a car.
Right, and I know that now, which is exactly why my parents have custody now,
It was
because
not
in
to
May
live in a
of
car
'96, in May of '96, they took us to court for custody.
So
The
what do you
judge
want
gave
from me?
us-
I don't want to talk about that.
I
Thank
want
God for your parents.
exactly. I want him to pay off the eviction. It's only $200. So why can't I pay it? Because I paid more than enough when we lived in our apartment, and he paid.
And where is
maybe,
my proof that you paid everything in the apartment?
Well, I don't have proof of that.
And where is my proof that he paid nothing in the apartment?
There is no proof of it.
And if there is only 1 month's
only
rent, it
proof
was
we
1
have is
month's
the
rent
eviction.
due that wasn't paid? Is that right?
No, it was like 2 or 3
was
months.
2
So
months.
how's it only $200?
Because I paid some of it off like 2 years ago.
What was the total amount?
It was like 3,000 something. And when I got an income
Okay,
tax
tell-
check,
what
when
was the
this man
total
got an
amount?
income tax check, he helped me pay it off.
Okay, what was the total amount?
It was like $3,064.
And it's only $200 left?
Right, because he paid
Who's he?
this Justin Stevens. This is my fiance now.
When divorce court returns, the judge renders her verdict. And an update on the case of Vanessa Carr versus Myron Carr.
Everybody get in trouble sometime. I couldn't help that.
But there's a difference in troubles and going back and forth to jail.
Divorce court will be back in session in a moment. Divorce court is back in the case of Amy Kirk, who says her husband Chris refused to get a job, even though they were expecting a child and facing eviction.
When he got an income tax 2 years ago, he paid on that eviction.
Is
so
that right,
I
Mr.
could get my
Stevens?
own
Come forward
place.
real quick. You paid on, state your name, please.
Justin Stevens, Your Honor.
Did you pay on an eviction bill?
Yes, I did. I handed Amy the money. Amy, therefore, sent it out to pay for that.
And you
eviction.
saw her do that?
Yes, I did. I seen the envelope.
You saw the bill and you saw her write a check to the company and mail it out?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
was-
Mr. Kirk,
And that's
was
not
the bill
his
3,000 plus?
responsibility.
It was never even, I mean,
Have a
they,
seat, Mr. Stevens. Thank you.
Yes, Your
they
Honor.
never even conversed with me about
I don't
paying
care.
it.
How
or-
much was the eviction cost? If they never conversed with you, did you know that rent wasn't paid? Did
Yeah.
you? Did you pay any of it?
I was paying the money that I had left from
Did
paying
you
my
pay
bills.
any of the money from the eviction from the apartment? Yes or no? Simple question.
Yes.
How much did you pay?
I paid $100.
$100 on $3,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And they didn't converse with you about it?
No,
What were they
it-
supposed to tell you?
It was never conversed that they were going to pay $3,000 or that they would pay half and I would pay half or
Well, did you
anything.
ever suggest that you would pay half?
It was a 50-50 thing, seeing how it was in both of our names.
never
You better
that-
know it was a
Pay half.
50-50 thing, and that's just what
You never.
that's just what this court is about to rule. I don't care if they never told you that they were going to pay it. You knew the bill was there. It's time for you to stop making excuses for your behavior and blaming other people. You knew the bill was there. It was not going to go away. Fortunately, again, you guys have had saviors all along. Her mother taking care of the child, this young man paying the rent. It's now time for you to take care of yourself.
And your son.
The bill was due. You are responsible for $1,500. Not only are you going to pay the last $200 that's due, you're going to reimburse her the other $1,300 that you didn't pay. That's my order. Now you know that it wasn't paid?
Yeah.
All right. That's the court's order.
All rise.
When divorce court returns, an update on the case of Vanessa Carr versus Myron Carr.
I told him if he go back to jail, don't look for me to be there for you.
Well, she's supposed to be a wife.
Part of the vows didn't say, and I promise to go back and forth to jail and to be with you every time I get out.
Closed captioning for divorce court provided by. If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. And now for an update on a previous case in divorce court. Vanessa Carr said she divorced her husband Myron because he spent more time in jail than he did at home with her.
Everybody get in trouble sometime. I couldn't help that.
But there's a difference in troubles and going back and forth to jail. Jail means you're committing crimes.
She didn't come see me not once.
I told him if he go back to jail, don't look for me to be there for you.
Well, she's supposed to be a wife and be there for her husband.
Part of the vows didn't say, and I promise to go back and forth to jail and to be with you every time I get out.
Vanessa brought Myron to court because he refused to pay child support for their daughter. The judge ordered Myron to pay Vanessa $2,000 in back child support. Vanessa says now that she's rid of Myron, she's getting her life back on track. She is very happy with the new man in her life and is pursuing her plans to become a licensed practical nurse. Myron says he is enjoying the single life, but has no plans to get married anytime soon.
I think it was wrong. I mean, she had no proof that she even paid the $3,000. She never even talked to me about it, so therefore, I don't see why the verdict was the way it was.
I totally agreed with it. I actually got more than I expected, and I believe that it was fair.
I don't think I'll ever get married again.
I don't think he's going to make an effort to get a steady job now because he still hasn't, so.
Everything that she said was lies.